Okay. Now, those of you who have a chainsaw, if you think on your chainsaw, you may already know this, but on your saw you're going to have a line somewhere on the bottom, on the power head of the saw. It's going to look like this line here. It's going to be a darkened line, or maybe not darkened, but you're going to have a line that's basically, perpendicular or right angles from your bar and chain. That's called your sight line on your saw. That sight line is just what it says. It's for sighting your tree you're going to fell, the way you want to aim it. Just like looking down a rib on a shotgun or something. Okay? So when I hold that up to the tree, all my cuts that are going to follow on after that, if I use that sight line, that's where I'm aiming that tree. Okay? Hang in there. Okay, that's your sight line. And it runs all the way around the saw. You'll see it right here. And all your saws have this on there. You didn't know what it was, did you? Well, it's a system. It's meant to be used that way. Okay, so there's my target over there. I said I'm going to have a little bit of a high notch, so I'm going to start up here somewhere. I'm going to look over that sight line, look right over the top of it. Okay, here we go. Let me start my notch. Okay, I've got my notch half done. And what I've got now is, and I can sight it again. I'm not complaining, mind you, but I did set myself up with a pretty tough target, but it's all right. Worst thing that happens is I'll hang the tree up and then you guys can laugh at me, but anyway. So right now, my first half of my notch is done, my open face notch. And I've stopped where I think I've got about 9.5 inches of length in the front, at the bottom of it, I think. Pretty close. And if I hold that saw right there, I think my sighting's still good. Okay. So that's my down cut of my open face notch. Now let me do my up cut and finish it up. Okay, my notch is done. Let me talk to you about the notch for a minute. This is called the open face notch felling technique. You want to strive to have your notch open at least 70 degrees, more like 90 degrees. In this case, I have a little bit of a high stump, so I actually wanted an opening more than 90 degrees. I went for around 100, and I think I probably got it. Do you agree? I might have a 100-degree opening if you think about the 90, a little bit more. Okay. See it? Okay. The reason I want an open face notch and an opening this wide, right here is in front of my hinge. You see it? As this tree falls, that hinge is going to hold and steer and guide the tree all the way to the ground and not let go until the tree hits the ground, and maybe even stay hooked on if I get lucky. Okay? So that's the open face notch, and that's the idea behind it. And when you do the open face notch, your two cuts have to meet. Now, my cuts happen to meet. They usually do. If they don't, just fix them. Oftentimes you'll cut on the down or the up, you'll cut by, called bypass. Fix it. Fix it by getting rid of the bypass. And
you don't want the bypass.
How about if you...
That's right. If you have bypass on either cut, it allows us, that becomes your hinge, your notch, and it allows that to close early and it'll try to force the hinge to snap off.
Right.
Yep, exactly.
How about the angle of it? If you make it angled like this or like this?
Everything should be level.
Should be level.
Level. You want everything level. You don't need it to run you don't need to pitch rain off the roof. You want everything flat and level.
Yep.
In fact, with this technique, I'm working from the front of the tree to the back, guiding everything from the first cut I make. It's more than likely you're going to make things level and match up than you are with the old techniques where you put your notch in and you came around to the back of the tree back here to start cutting. Now, where the hell do I do this now? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So open face notch, no bypass, 2 cuts should meet. I got about a 100-degree opening for the tree to fall into. All right. Once again, stay close. Nothing's going to happen for a little while yet. Did I cover everything on the notch? Sight line, aim, down cut, up cut. Work in close to the tree. Lean on the tree. Rest your saw on you and the tree. Nice and steady, precise. Smooth cutting chain. Cutting smooth, not jumpy. Cutting efficiently. Okay. Now the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to do a bore cut. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to bore in behind towards the center of the tree, but not the center. I'm going to bore back in here, and I'm going to have my bar poke out the other side, and what I'm going to do is finish making my hinge. My hinge will be done when I get done this cut, because it'll be the length I want and the thickness I wanted. The 1-inch thick will be done when I get done here. Now, on the bore cut, let me back up 1 second here. There's at least, well, there's 4 reactive forces to your bar and chain, okay? We have this cutting surface here that runs from the corner here back to here. And that's called, when you use that, the guys that run saw, what happens when you use that part of the saw? What's the saw do? When you use this cutting surface right here, the bottom. What'd you say?
Pulls it.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it pulls the saw in. That's called the pull chain of the pull. So what that does is, if your filing's correct, if you file properly, that pulls the saw into the wood. And all you do is steer and control it and guide it. Okay? And that's a very efficient and very safe cutting surface to use from here to here. That's the pull. The next cutting surface we have that we use a lot, it's not quite so efficient. It's just as safe, I guess, but it's not quite as efficient because it goes from here to here. What's that surface do when you use it?
Pushes the saw backwards?
Yeah, it pushes the saw out of the cut, so you have to use your muscle power to make the saw cut, right? Now, if you're a good filer, you might have to use a little muscle power. If you're a bad filer, you might have to use a lot more. But anyway, that's the push chain, and that's safe to use, but it's not. You see how if you use that surface all the time, it's a little more tiring than the other surface. Okay. Then we have out on the end, we got two surfaces here. This bottom, well, half of this tip right here, this bottom half, is actually an extension of this pull chain. And when you're using this bottom half of the tip from here down, it's actually pulling the saw into the wood. Okay. So you could call that the pull tip. We call it a much more manly term. We call it the attack. The attack. Okay. And then you have this surface right here, which some of you have already encountered and already know about. It's this upper half of this tip right here. Anybody know what that's called and what that does? Most people already know that. They've probably been told a million times to be careful with that and stay away from it and don't use it. Well, I'm going to tell you to use it, okay, with training, okay? That's called the kickback in the hazard area. When I get this tree on the ground, I'll try to demonstrate kickback for you here, show you how that works. But basically that quadrant, that corner, that half of the tip right there, when those teeth encounter a solid or immovable object, which could be hardwood or they get pinched or something, back to what I told you earlier about the chain break and Newton's law. In other words, this chain's going this way this fast and it stops. That's your kickback. Opposite and equal reaction. Okay. So, all right. So I think I covered that already. Okay. So good. So when I start my bore on this side, I've got to. When you start your bores, you always want to use your attack or your pulling tip. So when I start this bore, I'm going to start like this, get into the tree and straighten it out. If I was boring from this side, I'd start my bore like this, get into the tree a ways and straighten it out and bore straight through. I'll show you. You'll see it when done. It'll be easy. Okay. Here we go. Now I'm going to be standing right there, so if you can't see, just move a bit. Okay, I've done my bore. I've come out back here, I'm way back. I'm back 3 inches on this side here. And that's okay. I'm a little closer on this side, I'm a couple inches back on that side. I said I wanted an inch thick hinge, right? So now I'm going to come forward till I think I have an inch. Does everybody see that?
Yeah.
And when you're learning this technique, the boring, it's probably important to come back, maybe not in the center of the tree, but back towards the center, because you can always come forward and get your hinge right. It's hard to, if you take too much, you can't put it back. Okay?
Takes a lot of experience to do, what you're doing right there.
Well, obviously experience helps, but